They think you've moved on, that you've forgotten. But what they don't know is that some wounds don't scream, they echo. Quietly, every time their name is mentioned, every time silence fills the space where an apology should have been. You never asked for revenge. You never wanted payback. All you ever needed was the truth. And now, after all this time, life is about to deliver it without warning, without conditions. And exactly when your spirit is finally ready to receive it, Virgo, let's talk for a moment about what's really happening here. You're not watching this by accident. You didn't stumble across this video out of boredom. Something inside you led you here. A quiet nudge, a deep knowing. The truth is, the universe is already moving. It's shifting circumstances, stirring emotions, setting things into motion behind the curtain of your daily life. And this time, Virgo, you're not the one who has to fix it, chase it, or overthink it. This time, something or someone is being brought to you. Why? Because there's a part of your story that's been left wide open, a chapter that never got a real ending. And life, in its quiet wisdom, has decided it's time to close it. Not with silence, not with avoidance, but with truth. And for someone like you, who holds integrity and emotional justice like sacred values, this moment is more than overdue. It's necessary. It's healing. It's the closure your soul has been craving without even realizing how much it needed it. Now let's be honest. You've probably asked yourself more than once if you were overreacting, if maybe you made too big a deal out of something small. Maybe you've tried to convince yourself to let it go, to move on, to bury it under positivity and distractions. But no matter how many times you tried to push it away, the ache was still there. And you know why? Because something real was never acknowledged. Someone crossed a line. Someone disappointed you in a way that left a dent. And the worst part, they acted like it didn't happen. They walked away without ever validating what they did to you. That's not drama. That's reality. And it's one that deserves to be addressed. That lingering tightness in your chest, it's not weakness. It's your soul remembering that you deserve better. And now, finally, life agrees. You've waited patiently, Virgo. Not because you were weak, but because deep down you believed that someday the truth would catch up. And now, that moment is inching closer. What's coming your way is not just a random coincidence or a scripted apology to ease guilt. It's emotional justice being delivered on divine timing. You're not going to chase it or orchestrate it. Life is doing that for you. Think about it. How many times have you replayed that moment in your mind, the words you wish they had said? And here's what's really powerful. Virgo, you didn't make this up. You felt it for a reason. Your intuition, sharp as a blade, soft as a whisper, was never off. The moment you sensed something was wrong, but you second-guessed yourself, didn't you? You tried to rationalize their behavior, telling yourself you were overthinking it or being too sensitive. That's the curse and the blessing of your detail-oriented mind. It picks up on everything, even the things people try to hide. You noticed when And Virgo, here's what makes this moment even more sacred. This isn't just about the apology itself. It's about what it represents. It's proof that life doesn't let unresolved energy hang in the air forever. It may take time, it may take silence, but eventually, the scales start to balance. And for someone like you, who often carries more than your share, that balance is everything. You've probably noticed how hard it is for you to truly rest when something feels unfinished. Your body may be still, but your mind is still trying to solve the puzzle. That's because your soul doesn't settle until the truth is laid bare. And that's what's happening now. The truth is making its way back to you, not for revenge, not for drama, but for peace. Because when someone finally admits what they did, It's not just closure, it's confirmation. It tells your heart, your gut, your mind you were never wrong. You were just ahead of the truth. And once you hear those words, you'll feel something loosen in your chest. That heavy, invisible weight, it starts to lift. So no, Virgo, you weren't imagining it. You weren't being dramatic. You weren't too much. You were tuned in. You were aware. And that is not something to hide, it's something to honor. Now, it's time for you to trust that the universe remembers, that it doesn't forget the weight you've carried in silence, that it knows how to bring things full circle in a way that heals, not harms. So when that moment comes, and it will let yourself receive it fully, don't analyze it, don't doubt it, just allow it, because this is what you've been waiting for, and you deserve every second of it. And maybe you've already started to feel it, those subtle shifts in your energy when you think about that person. You're not as angry as you used to be. You're not as confused either. What's left now is clarity. And that's the clearest sign of all that something is coming to completion. Sometimes emotional justice doesn't look like courtroom victories or dramatic confrontations. Sometimes it looks like a quiet moment where the person who once hurt you lowers their guard and simply says, "I was wrong." And in that second, everything changes. The timeline splits. The pain that once defined a chapter of your life becomes just a paragraph. The silence is replaced by a truth that finally has a voice. This is your moment. Virgo, the universe is preparing it with care. All you have to do is stay open, stay grounded, and trust that you don't have to chase healing anymore. It's coming to you now. It's walking toward you with a truth you've long known and a peace you've long deserved. And maybe you've already started to feel it, those subtle shifts in your energy when you think about that person. You're not as angry as you used to be. You're not as confused either. What's left now is clarity. And that's the clearest sign of all that something is coming to completion. Sometimes emotional justice doesn't look like courtroom victories or dramatic confrontations. Sometimes it looks like a quiet moment where the person who once hurt you lowers their guard and simply says, "I was wrong." And in that second, everything changes. The timeline splits. The pain that once defined a chapter of your life becomes just a paragraph. The silence is replaced by a truth that finally has a voice. This is your moment. Virgo, the universe is preparing it with care. All you have to do is stay open, stay grounded, and trust that you don't have to chase healing anymore. It's coming to you now. It's walking toward you with a truth you've long known and a peace you've long deserved. Virgo, let's talk about what's already starting to happen around you. Maybe you've been dreaming about them again. Maybe a random song plays, and suddenly their face is in your mind like they never left. Or someone you haven't heard from in a long time casually brings them up in conversation. These things aren't random. They're the breadcrumbs, the signs. The universe is softening the edges, creating alignment, preparing your heart so it won't be caught off guard when this person walks back into your life. And Virgo, you're good at noticing patterns, right? That's your thing. You see the little shifts before they become obvious to everyone else. So if you've been picking up on these cues, trust them. That internal radar of yours is spot on. It's not anxiety. It's not your mind playing tricks. It's your spirit picking up on an energetic appointment that's already been scheduled. Now let's go deeper. Because what's coming isn't just about the moment itself, it's about the healing it carries. You see, most people think healing means forgiving someone, moving on, or pretending it didn't hurt. But not you. Not this time. You're not here to pretend. You're here to finally be validated. The truth is, Virgo, healing sometimes means hearing someone say what they should have said a long time ago. It's about looking in their eyes and seeing that they finally see it too. that they get it, that they feel the weight of what they did, and for once they're not running from it. They're standing in it, owning it. That's when the real shift happens. Because it's not just about the apology, it's about you no longer carrying the burden of silence, of questioning your worth, of replaying the moment over and over, wondering if you imagined the whole thing. You didn't. You felt it because it happened. You hurt because it mattered. And now, it's finally being recognized. When that moment comes, you might feel shaky. You might want to put your guard up. That's okay. You're human. But don't block the blessing. Don't miss the healing. Because this time, it's not coming from within you, it's coming asterisk to asterisk you. And you, Virgo, have more than earned it. And if you're wondering why this matters so much, it's because acknowledgement is one of the deepest human needs. To be seen, to be heard, to be understood. That's what you've been craving all along. Not drama, not revenge, just truth. The kind that settles something inside you. The kind that lets you breathe differently afterward. You've probably spent nights staring at the ceiling, wondering what you did wrong, how things went sideways, or why they couldn't just be honest with you. You've questioned your own judgment, doubted your own heart, but no more. This meeting is the closing of that loop. It's not about reopening wounds, it's about stitching them closed, once and for all, with thread made of truth. Even if the words they say aren't perfect, even if they stumble through them awkwardly, the energy will be clear. You'll feel it. Your body will know. Because healing isn't about perfection, it's about presence. And their presence, in that moment, will be exactly what your spirit has been waiting for. So, let it happen. Let the signs lead you. Let your heart open just enough to receive what's already on its way to you. Not because you're fragile, but because you're finally ready to release the weight of being misunderstood for far too long. Timing, Virgo, that's the part people always underestimate. But you know better, don't you? You've lived long enough to understand that things don't always happen when we want them to, but when we're ready for them. And that readiness is showing up now. Back then, you were still carrying too much pain. You might have lashed out or shut down if this apology had come too soon. Or maybe they weren't ready to say it yet, not in a way that felt real. But now, something's shifted on both sides. Life has found it. And let's be clear, this isn't just happening for your benefit. That person, the one who hurt you, they've been carrying it too. Maybe not in a way that shows on the surface. Maybe they've gotten really good at pretending it didn't happen, or convincing themselves that you were fine. But deep down, they've known. They've replayed it, just like you did. And now, the pressure they've buried for so long is finally rising. That's what makes this encounter powerful. It's not a one-sided apology. It's a shared The pain wasn't yours alone. Virgo, the guilt wasn't theirs alone either. And while that doesn't excuse what happened, it does mean that the healing will go deeper than you thought. Because when two people finally meet in truth without blame, without ego, something incredible happens. You both walk out lighter, and that's what's waiting for you. Not a return to how things used to be, but a release from what's been stuck. You may never be close again. You may never speak after this. And that's okay. This isn't about rebuilding a broken relationship. It's about honoring what was broken and letting the weight of it fall away. It's about standing face to face, not with anger, but with awareness, with clarity, with the quiet strength that comes from surviving something that tried to silence you. And now, you get to choose what comes next with a heart that's finally been heard. You see, when timing is divine, it creates space for growth on both sides. Maybe you've outgrown the version of yourself that once chased closure, and maybe they've finally grown into the version of themselves that can take responsibility without deflecting or defending. That's no small thing. This kind of emotional maturity doesn't arrive overnight. It comes from life shaking us up, breaking our patterns, forcing us to sit with our mistakes. And now, that reckoning is here. Not to punish, but to liberate. You're both stepping into that moment, not as the people you were, but as the people you've become through the fire. So don't minimize this. Don't brush it off as just a coincidence. This is bigger. This is healing orchestrated by something higher, something wiser than pride or logic. And when it happens, your soul will recognize it instantly. It will feel like exhaling after holding your breath for far too long. Let that breath come, Virgo. Let that peace in. The room wasn't loud. It wasn't even tense. It was still so still. It felt like time was holding its breath. You didn't expect to see them. Not here. Not today. But there they were, standing a few feet away, holding a cup of coffee that had already gone cold in their hand. Your breath caught. Not because you weren't over it, but because something inside you knew this moment had been waiting for both of you. They saw you. You know they did. There was a flicker in their eyes, 1,000 words they didn't know how to say. And for a second, neither of you moved. The people around kept talking, laughing, moving about their lives as if the axis of your world hadn't just shifted. Then they took a step, one slow step forward, then another. You didn't run. You didn't hide. You just stood there, heart pounding, hands suddenly unsure what to do with themselves. "Hey," they said, voice low, like it hurt to use it. "Can we talk?" You nodded, and just like that, the universe folded the two of you into a quiet corner, away from the noise. They didn't jump into it. No. They stared at the table between you, fingers tapping, pulling at a paper napkin. You waited. You didn't offer comfort. You didn't interrupt. This time, you weren't going to rescue them from the weight of the truth. Finally, they exhaled. "I've replayed this in my head 100 times, they said, "but now that you're actually here, I don't know where to begin." You stayed silent. That was the power shift. You weren't here to help them unburden. You were here to witness. "I was wrong," they said. 3 words, so simple, but they hit like a wave. You didn't flinch, but inside, something cracked open. Not in pain, in release. "I didn't know how to handle what I felt back then," they continued. "I got scared of being seen, of being loved that deeply. You didn't do anything wrong. I did. I left because I couldn't face myself, and it was easier to disappear than to admit I didn't know how to show up." Their voice broke. For a second, they looked away. "I told people it was mutual. I made it sound like we drifted, but we didn't. I pushed you away, and I knew you were hurting. I just didn't know how to fix it, so I pretended it wasn't broken." You swallowed hard. Your eyes were warm, but no tears fell. You weren't here to break. You were here to rise. They kept going. "You always saw me, more than anyone ever did." That terrified me, because if you saw the good, then you also saw the damage. And I didn't want to be known like that. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was sacred. You leaned back, took a breath, and when you finally spoke, your voice was steady. "I waited a long time to hear that. You said, not because I needed you to fix anything, but because I needed to know I wasn't crazy, that what I felt was real, that I mattered." They nodded, quiet, hollowed out, and somehow you felt full. "I'm sorry," they said again, but this time softer, more human. You looked at them, really looked, and you didn't see the villain. You saw someone who had been running from their own reflection, and maybe for the first time, They'd stopped. You didn't say, "I forgive you." Not because you didn't, but because forgiveness had already happened in the way you'd lived without them. You stood up. "Thank you," you said, "for saying it. Finally." They didn't ask for anything more, and you didn't offer. As you walked away, you felt something different. Not victory, not closure, just space. Like your heart had exhaled after years of holding tension in places even you didn't know existed. You didn't look back. You didn't need to, because the silence had finally broken. And now, Virgo. So are you open, unburdened, ready? Later that night, as you sat alone, you thought about all the versions of yourself who longed for this moment. The younger you, the heartbroken you, the angry, confused, questioning you. You wanted to hold them close, to whisper to those old pieces of your soul, "We made it, we heard the words, and now we're free." That's the thing about truth. It doesn't always come when you want it. But when it comes, it rewrites everything. It doesn't erase the pain. It doesn't undo the past. But it softens it. It gives shape to the story. It restores dignity to the chapters where you once felt small. And in that, there is peace. You didn't win anything today. This wasn't a game. But you gained something deeper. You gained yourself. The whole clear, unshaken version of you that always deserved the truth. And now, you'll walk differently. Not bitter, not guarded, but awake, aware, alive. Because Virgo, when silence finally breaks, healing doesn't whisper back. It sings, after the apology, after the moment of truth. What will you do with the space that finally opens up inside you? What will you become, now that you're no longer carrying the weight of being misunderstood? Because here's the thing, this moment isn't just an ending, it's a beginning. And the version of you that walks forward from here, that version is lighter, stronger, wiser. When they say the words, "and they will," you might expect to feel anger, tears, maybe even triumph. But what's most likely a strange calm, not because it didn't matter, but because your soul has been preparing for this. You already did the grieving. You already played every possible version of that conversation in your head. What's left now is peace. What's left is confirmation that your intuition was right. Your experience was valid. And your healing has never depended on anyone but you. Still, something powerful happens when the words are finally spoken out loud. It seals the lesson. It closes the cycle. It gives your nervous system permission to stop bracing for the moment that already came. And when that happens, Virgo, your energy begins to flow again, not in circles of rumination and regret, but in forward motion, in creation, in possibility. You'll start to feel clearer. You'll begin to trust your gut again. You'll stop apologizing for your sensitivity or for needing things to be honest and real. Because you'll remember your standards weren't too high. Your heart wasn't too much. You simply saw through the illusion before anyone else did, and that clarity, that's your superpower. So let it anchor you. Let it change how you show up in every room you enter. Let it shift how you allow people to treat you going forward. Because now, you have evidence, not just belief, that you weren't wrong. You were ahead. And what felt like loneliness back then was really leadership. Quiet, spiritual leadership rooted in integrity. And now that your integrity has been seen, you don't have to prove it anymore. You get to just live it. And that leads us to the moment, the key moment, the one you felt coming for so long it almost feels familiar already. You'll see them, maybe across the room, maybe face to face, in a place you didn't expect. And your heart will beat faster. You'll brace, but then you'll breathe. Because you'll realize this is it. The moment life promised, and somehow you'll be ready. Their voice may shake, yours might too, but something in the air will shift, like the universe is holding space just for this. Time will slow, noise will fade, and when the words come, when you finally hear them say, "I'm sorry," you won't crumble, you won't rage, you'll receive, not because it erases the past, but because it frees your future. The story won't end in pain. It will end in truth. And that truth will unlock something inside you that's been waiting to exhale for years. You'll walk away different, lighter, not because they fixed it, but because you did the inner work while they were gone. You met yourself in the dark. You held space for your own healing. And now the final piece falls into place. That's the moment you step into your next chapter, not as someone wounded, but as someone transformed. You didn't just survive. You alchemized the pain. You turned it into clarity. And now that clarity will guide every step you take next. Virgo, now that the moment has passed, you might feel a strange kind of stillness, not emptiness, not sadness, just spaciousness, like something old finally left the room. That's the feeling of completion, of emotional justice landing exactly where it needed to. You didn't chase it, you didn't force it, you simply stayed true, and life met you there. Now, you get to move forward without the question marks, without the replay loops, without the ache of things unsaid. That part of the story has been written. The page has turned, and what's ahead of you is wide open. But don't forget this moment. Let it teach you something. Let it become a reminder that your feelings are valid, that your intuition is sacred, that the universe doesn't overlook your quiet battles, it honors them in time. And Virgo, if this message found you at just the right moment, it's not a coincidence. You were meant to hear it. You were meant to feel seen. So if this landed in your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Leave a comment, say something, even just a word, because your story might be the light someone else needs to find their way through the dark. And if you want more messages like this, subscribe, turn on your notifications. Because this moment of healing, it's just the beginning. You've got so much more to receive, and I'll be right here, walking with you every step of the way. You've done the hardest part, waiting with grace, trusting without answers. And now that the universe has delivered, it's time for you to claim what's next. Not just relief, but direction. Not just closure, but confidence. This experience wasn't random. It was sacred. It reminded you of who you are, and more importantly, of who you're becoming. And if it brought you even one step closer to peace, then it was worth every moment of doubt that came before. So breathe it in, let it settle in your bones, and know what's ahead will feel lighter. Because you are